1015 FM, 720 AM. KDON, the talk of Las Vegas.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the #1 professional wrestling radio show in Las Vegas. This is the Mark Hoke Show. The Mark Hoke Show. 1 full hour of wrestling news, entertainment, and lots of Sin City surprises from inside the squared circle. Now, let's bring on the tag team of Andrew Fish Fain, Joe DeFalco, and your host, Mark Hoke.
All right. Hippity hoppity, Easter's on its way.
Oh, there's some throwback for you. I feel like we need
by the way, the Easter Bunny has to change his name.
Oh, no. What does he have to be?
He's now Fred Rabbit.
Fred Wabbit?
Yes. By DeQuee.
Peter Cottontail is now Steve Johnson.
That's exactly right. Now you're getting it.
The bouncer. Oh, my God. Oh, I'm sorry. Welcome to the Mark Hoke Show. I guess I ought to say that first.
That's not a bad start.
The best in pro wrestling news and entertainment here on KDWN 1015 FM, 720 AM. We are the talk of Las Vegas. You know why?
Why?
Because we're that darned good. That's what we do. Of course, I'm Mark Hoke. Thanks for being with us.
Yay!
Wait, am I Mark Hoke?
For now.
You're going to find out. If you don't know, you're going to find out why we're making this joke in a little bit. I think I would use my grandfather's first name and my other grandparents' last name.
No, see, but now
that's the route I would take.
Now the problem is they're just using last names because he's no longer Austin Theory. He's just Theory.
Well, I would have time to before when Vince hired me to come up with something instead of getting it changed.
Well, maybe they'll use one of the things that they didn't use for Stone Cold, like Auto Freeze. That was going to be his name.
Wow, Andrew Fluffy Fain.
There you go.
He's actually Andrew Fish Fain sitting over there, of course. By the way, in case you want to listen to SportsX Radio on Monday night with Fish and Chips.
It was a little spirited day last Monday.
Yes. Yeah, you guys were getting into it. Well, that argument was bad. But Andrew Fish Fain sitting across from me, like I say, you can catch him Monday night here on KDWN, 8 post-meridian to 10 post-meridian Pacific Standard Time.
If we're going till anti-meridian, we've got problems.
Yeah. That means I'd probably be up pretty late. But anyway. And, of course, he is the Lord, the Master, the Guru of future stars of wrestling here in Las Vegas.
The Yoda to our Obi-Wan Kenobi.
He is just one of the most amazing people in the world. There's no question about it. Not a fan of Easter, apparently, but that's okay. Joe DeFalco joining us. Joe, how are you?
Fine. I thought I was the forgotten son. Nobody's calling me. I'm like, it's 8:05. What's going on? I woke up for nothing.
We're trying to let you sleep a little more.
Well, unfortunately, I had to get up because I knew I had to call. If you told me I could have slept till 8:06, I probably would have.
We thought maybe you were doing an Easter egg hunt.
Yeah, Lourdes gave you time to eat some chocolate. It's all good. Yeah, by the way, I got to say, we have a new producer here at KDWN. And she is awesome, by the way. She's doing a fantastic job since she started here. And she's going to be the one screwing up our show for a long time. So,
well, she was the one who made the late call. So I don't know if awesome's the right word.
Well,
she loves you that much. She loves you that much. She wants you to get that extra minute or two of beauty rest.
I don't think she had that much to do other than call me. You know what I mean?
Because what's going to happen is she's going to pull a Sonya Deville and just come on the air because she's now a part of the show.
Maybe she was trying to take that third slot.
Yeah, there you go.
Maybe she had an ulterior motive.
Oh, man. So the jokes that we were making, and since we're into this, we might as well dive in right now because I'm going to ask you a question on this one, Joe. It is official now. Everyone is going into the WWE name randomizer. The dartboards are out. the wiffle ball landing is whatever you want to do, because Vince McMahon has decreed that no one can use their real names on WWE programming anymore, which is why we're making all these name jokes.
Why are you saying that? Randy Orton's still going to be Randy Orton.
A few of them will be grandfathered in.
Yeah, like John Cena is going to be grandfathered in as John Cena.
Yeah,
right?
Cody Rhodes isn't going to get his name.
No,
changed.
exactly.
It's the same as it's always been. They went for that run where they kept people's name. We even had this discussion before that came up, that they started changing names and that they wanted to make sure, the Sefa Fatus weren't Sefa Fatu. So it's like, it's not shocking to me in any way.
And that part I get, but it's shocking to me when, especially, and the one that comes to mind this week was that Austin Theory has changed his name to just Theory now.
I'm Theory
because his real name happens to be Austin White, so they had to get rid of the Austin part. So now he's just Theory. So if you're already branding a guy on your show, changing his name there seems ridiculous. Like, I can understand.
Oh yeah, I don't disagree on that one. We even had this conversation, and I even said it about him that, hey, who knows if they get rid of Austin just because Steve Austin's around? So because they never like having the same guy having the same first names, because in life 9 million people. So Matt Hardy goes to AEW, he has to change his name to Nat Hardy because Matt Jackson's there.
Wow. Yeah, so Austin Theory got thrown into the actually he just kind of got a name decapitation.
Yes.
But
they did it with Riddle. What was wrong with Matt Riddle? It flows better.
I agree. That sounds high on Riddle.
And they actually did it originally with Elias too, because Elias, and I can't remember what he was going by his last name when it first
almost had a name too.
But it's not his real name. His real name's Ezekiel. What are you talking about?
And by the way, there's a picture of Elias and Ezekiel next to each other, which is so obviously photoshopped.
Yeah, that was great.
Obviously? I don't believe obviously. I think it's a picture that might be a little grainy.
But some other people got so just so you can adjust your scorecards at home. Kaylee Ray and Casey Catanzaro got nailed by the name randomizer in NXT.
But you.
Kaylee Ray.
Other than Austin Theory, nobody who's really like a main person on the show has gotten their name changed in the middle of the gig.
Yeah, but it's just silly.
Raquel Rodriguez,
like the stuff about too, that was dumb. But yeah, she got her name.
She got
changed.
married to Richard Rodriguez, and she changed her name legally.
Fair
Possibly.
Enough.
Maybe Alberto
you guys
Del
are
Rio
always
second.
taking the other side. I don't understand.
I don't know. But Kaylee Ray is now Alba Fire.
Oh, good Lord.
Casey Catanzaro is now Katana Chance. In other words, there's a chance you might get stabbed with a katana.
Name, and all those guys had to change their name when they came in. So
yeah, and obviously Vince is doing it because he doesn't. He wants to be able to hold the trademarks.
And he wants his, the other thought is that he wants them to have their own WWE identity versus their identity. So, but to me, from a marketing standpoint, if you've already got somebody marketed as because they're big on the indies, it makes more sense just to keep their name when they come into your brand.
You would think.
Well, he wants to rebrand. Like you said, I had said it before. For some reason, once it was always like that. Ask Daniel Bryan. AJ Styles was like the first guy, and once that kind of hit, all of a sudden Samoa Joe and Bobby Fish and Adam Cole, they all got to keep their names. And now that they got rid of the whole indie circuit thing of signing those guys, now they're rebranding everybody the way it actually was 6 years ago.
Now, when guys come into FSW, do you ask them if they want to change their names? Do you change their names automatically? I mean,
no, because when they're not contracted wrestlers to us. So,
okay.
AEW's gig is we're going to bring in these super indie guys who have name value, as Shane Strickland has a name that was bigger on the indies as Shane Strickland, not Isaiah Swerve Scott or whatever he was. You know what I mean? But then again, WWE owned the copyright to Isaiah Scott. So if he became a big deal and then they released him, Cross can't use Carrying Cross, but he uses Killer Cross, which he used before. And between him and Keith Lee, they were kind of last of the Mohegans who kind of got to keep what their indie name was. And that's why Keith Lee was becoming the Bearcat. That was probably the same reason that it just took a while for us to realize what everything was going on.
Yeah, and you look at other people that have come and gone in WWE. I'm on an article on Webb's Jericho about all this. Keith Lee, Mercedes Martinez, Adam Cole, Bobby Fish, Kyle O'Reilly, all got to keep their names, and guess what?
They're all gone.
Now they're all gone, and I'm sure that that's probably chapping Vince a little bit. So, understandable, but changing Austin Theory to Theory is just...
I heard they're changing Tommaso Ciampa's name to Giuseppe Esposito, so...
Wow. Spoken like a true Italian.
My inside sources, that's what they told me.
Oh. And this is apropos of nothing we're talking about, but you mentioned Tommaso Ciampa, so it just makes you think, does anyone know what's going on with Johnny Gargano? Is he signing anywhere?
He hasn't decided yet.
He's doing
he's got his kid.
WrestleCon stuff. I got a call yesterday from Jeff Jarrett, by the way.
Oh, yeah?
JEFFJARRDT
weekend doing a podcast. Maybe we can get him on the air if you want.
That'd be awesome.
Oh, that'd be fantastic.
Double can ask him. Maybe, hopefully, we can buy some gold bars from him.
I just wanted to hit fish with a guitar. That's all I care about.
I'd take a guitar shot.
I'd love to see it.
I'd absolutely take a guitar shot.
I will pay to clean up the K-Dawn studios here. That's all right.
You need to take a honky tonk man guitar shot, not the
no, those are scary
guitar that Jeff Jarrett has.
He'll miss. He will miss. That's a lock. I'll get sharded. It'll be shrapnel in my head.
Whoa.
Oh, shard, you said. Shard.
Yes,
okay.
shard.
I thought he said he just sharded.
No, I did not.
See, that's where I was going with
not
it.
Today. Anyway, but I guess since we're talking about WWE, there was a lot of crazy stuff happening in AEW too. But we'll go WWE. Another good Cody promo on Raw.
I thought
this is
really quickly, Joe. I don't know if you saw either Raw or SmackDown this week, but I thought both these episodes were very much throwback episodes. These were actually done very well. There were a couple of minor things that were irritating about them, but for the most part, I thought both Raw and SmackDown were actually good this week.
I watched. I was actually sitting here watching the SmackDown stuff. I'm interested in the Usos and RK Bro because it hasn't been seen or done before. So it's like, hey, this is an exciting match I could care about. I'd like, I wasn't really a big fan of the Street Profits, but I like their heel work and I like what they've been doing. So,
yeah, I the Street Profits are a very talented team. And and I just didn't. I think I did get turned off to him too when they went face.
My only problem with the Street Profits is, to me, Montez Ford outshines Angelo Dawkins, and when you have a tag team, you can't have one of them completely outshine the other. Because
well, you always got to have a Jannetty, so.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, like, Montez Ford could not be replaced. I think you could replace Angelo Dawkins with a lot of people, and they would still be just as good. You could not replace Montez Ford, though.
Well, it gives you a contrast. It gives you the flyer.
Well, somebody's always got to shine.
Yeah. So, yeah, but I enjoy.
Someone's got to be Jim the Anvil Neidhart. I get it.
Yeah, there you go.
Jeff Hardy and Matt Hardy. Who's the more exciting guy of the two?
Matt.
Jay Briscoe over Mark Briscoe.
I can. It's hard. Well, you can tell them apart, but yeah. Yeah, Mark doesn't get the credit he deserves.
I'd make a Los Lotharios comment, but I have no idea what their names are.
Yeah,
I don't know which one's which.
They've had their name changed so many times too. It's not even funny. But yeah, so we're going to get a tag team unification match. Now, and it's interesting because the definition of unification, historically in wrestling, is you take two titles and you meld them into one. Now, in boxing, that's not the case. As an example, you still have your four organizations. It's just that one guy has won most of or all of the championships. So I haven't seen WWE with Roman Reigns yet. Well, making that one title, even though it's kind of being referred to as one. And
the funny thing
weird.
Is, they're referring to it as the Universal title, which I thought they would have done it the other way around and referred to it as the heavyweight title.
Well, I think
it's the universe. So it's the universe is the entire. Come on, then just the one brand. The most exciting to me thing about unifying the tag team titles is the tournament the next week to split the titles up again.
There you go.
Looking forward to that.
The question is, if they do unify the tag team titles, are we done with the brand split for now?
Technically, no, because all the other wrestlers will be. But to have your champion bounce around is like the easiest thing to do. You keep your main players on both shows. It means you can literally get rid of 10 more people that really don't have any slots anyway. You want to save money. I'd rather have Seth Rollins on both shows, or I'd rather have the Usos on both shows than having to have the Viking Raiders.
Yeah, that's an excellent point.
I'd like War Machine back. You can get rid of the Viking Raiders, but I'd like War Machine back. Thank you.
They went through the name randomizer as well.
Unbelievable. But yeah, I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And obviously with Roman Reigns kind of looking over everybody's shoulder, saying, you better unify those titles and acknowledge us.
See, they teased Roman Reigns on Young Rock the other day.
Yeah, that's right.
I didn't see that. But I will say that much like they did with Brock Lesnar, Randy Orton actually seems happier than I've seen him in a long time. So he's doing some excellent work because he seems very happy.
That's because Riddle's got him stoned 24/7. That's
probably true.
Those guys are known to partake.
Yeah, I have heard Randy Orton has not crapped in any bags in years.
Oh, my God. Wow. Another, one thing, and this kind of ties into what happened on AEW. I do want to get into this side of it, with almost now being with MVP. And obviously,
so he's almost an MVP?
So, Fish?
Yes?
I'm gonna chip you here in a minute. It's gonna get ugly, but you have almost who I think a lot of us thought the experiment was going to be over after WrestleMania.
We wished the experiment was over after WrestleMania.
Frere. And then of course we also had another debut on AEW this week.
Yeah,
which did not go well.
The giant former football player, right? Or
basketball player.
Basketball player.
Yes, basketball. Debuting at the end of the Samoa Joe Suzuki match, which, by the way, fun match.
It was the Great Khali, right?
No, it was not the Great Khali. Oh, my God. What is your problem?
Take was Tony Khan taking absolutely no credit and burying everybody else.
Yeah, Satnam Singh.
Yeah, it was
who was played for the Dallas Mavericks. He's been training for a while.
Not so great Khali.
Yeah, shows up. They did the lights out thing at the end of that match, and Satnam Singh shows up in the middle of the ring, and to everyone's surprise, which it was like, we have who that, we have who dat, we have who day, now we have who dis in New Orleans. Because nobody knew who he was.
So, don't you save that kind of thing for people who you know who they are?
Yeah, and Tony Khan actually admitted that was an error. But
yeah, and then he turns around and he goes, "Oh, I would have never done that, but you're the one who okayed it, and now you're saying that you wouldn't have done it because it failed, and now you're saying, well, I wouldn't have done that, but everything goes through you, so be the boss and take the responsibility instead of some unnamed guy who ran with it and you okayed it, but it's not on you, of course." It's
I actually have that quote in here. Let's see if I think I had it somewhere where he essentially, okay, here it is. This is also, I was on Web as Jericho a lot today, coming up on the search engine. Good for Chris. Here was his quote on that debut, and then I'll get to my bigger point. It was meaning. Let's see. I could have done it better. It's one of those things I wish I had done differently. There were things about it I probably should have done differently. Now I see in hindsight. To be honest, it wasn't my idea to turn the lights out, but I am the ultimate filter. I'm the person who everything goes through. To be honest, the person who brought up turning the lights off has over 30 years of experience in pro wrestling. When they brought it out to me, I was only looking at the pros, and I should have thought about the cons.
Well, I mean, but why throw somebody under the bus at all? Why not just say it was just a bad idea and leave it at that?
Yeah,
because he doesn't want to. He doesn't want to act like he's made 1,000 bad decisions, and it's like this one, needed to go right in the crapper. First off, whether the lights were turned off or not, and if he would have came out to did that, the reaction still would have been pretty much the same. Who was this guy?
Yeah.
So you're the one who was still wanting to bring this guy in. It was just like, how are you going to bring him in? That's the only thing somebody else may have done. It was still his idea to bring that guy in on that segment. How they did it was going to be what they were going to do. No matter how it was done, it wasn't going to be a hit, that's for sure.
So Satnam Singh shows up, and he also made an appearance at Battle of the Belts on Saturday. But the bigger picture in terms of Singh, because he came in and just, threw a couple people around and did the side brain claw and all that kind of stuff, and and of course Omos has been kind of plodding around. And my question to you guys is this: is there still a place in professional wrestling for giants like this that, obviously big, intimidating people, but can't do a whole lot? Is it time to give up on this idea? You have to be able to be at least like the Big Show was, or like Paul White, I guess is what he's going by now. You have to be able to have that kind. For a guy his size, he had a lot of agility. And you have to be able to have some agility and not look like you could break a leg anytime you take a step because you're plodding. Right. And Joe, you train wrestlers at FSW. And of course, go to FSWVegas.com. Check out everything Joe has going on. Joe, do you think that guys like this are useful in professional wrestling at this point? Maybe not. You can use them as a bodyguard or something like that. But as in-ring performers, is it time to just give up on this?
Well, the thing is, you have to give opportunity. You can't teach size. It's a lot harder to get a guy 5'5", 150 pounds like Chris Bay over when Kevin Cross walked in. With Kevin Cross, you saw what was there, but you're also I've seen guys that look like a Kevin Cross that have failed miserably, never got matches. They stopped coming to train. But if you got a guy 6'9", 6'10", you're hoping he's capable. You don't have to do a lot when you're that size. You're not going to sell a lot for that size, but if you're incapable of doing it, you can't do it. If Singh came out there and maybe sang some BTS, maybe the crowd would have dug him. Maybe a new version of 3 Count or something. But
wow,
having a guy that size, you hope there's something there. But if he's nowhere near ready, no, you can't do that at this day and age. Back in the day, you could, and we did see it. For a while, Great Khali was over for a while. Even the Giant Gonzalez, as terrible as that guy was, they positioned him so they needed somebody to destroy him. And almost is in the same way with that. We were hoping it would be Lashley, but now they're going to still try. And, maybe he should go down to NXT. Maybe there's things you can do. But right now, the writing's on the wall that this guy, by the time we talk next year, he'll either be not even on the main roster, or Vince will put the belt on him and he'll beat Reigns at WrestleMania.
Yeah, and one thing from my coaching, I coach sports or volleyball for 20 plus years. And a lot of times, you see, because, that's a situation where I was dealing with a lot of height too. And some kid that would be 6'3" would come rolling into your gym and you're like, oh my God. But you can see right away, man, this guy's got no agility. He moves slow as molasses. I can try on JV maybe and see if he can get up there, but maybe we can work with him. But but you can usually tell it's just not there, and that's why I'm wondering when you're seeing guys like Omos and and maybe being a little tough on Singh right now because he was an NBA player, but you can kind of look and see.
It's legit. It was legitimately
like 30 seconds, guys.
It was legitimately painful to watch the Great Khali in the ring. Yeah.
So. I don't know. I guess
basketball is the ultimate spot for a guy of that size, 6'10", 7'3", and we've seen guys like that. And all those guys have gotten great opportunities because they're so big.
Yep.
But most of them end up falling by the wayside. If you're an ex-basketball player and you become a wrestler and you're 7'2", it means you were probably not very coordinated if you're not a very good basketball player.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, guys, we got to go to break. More on the Mark Hoke Show special Easter edition.
Oh, boy.
Hide your eggs, kids.
Find some jelly beans.
There you go. Stick around. We will be right back. Want more of The Mark Hoke Show? Follow us on Twitter at Mark Hoke Show, like us on Facebook at The Mark Hoke Show, and visit markhokeshow.com to keep up with everything happening with the show. And remember to check out all of our archive shows on YouTube at The Mark Hoke Show and download our podcasts at markhokeshow.podbean.com and all your favorite podcast outlets. So join The Mark Hoke Show family today, and thanks for listening.
101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDON, the talk of Las Vegas.
This is the Mark Hoke Show. The Mark Hoke Show. Here again, your host, Mark Hoke.
Holy Cadbury fish! Wait a minute, Mark Hoke is the host of the Mark Hoke Show?
Amazing how that works.
What kind of world are we in?
I don't know. I am now Springy Easter egg. I don't know.
Come on, Sonia Deville.
Oh, Jiminy Christmas. Welcome back to the Mark Hoke Show, the number one professional wrestling show, Las Vegas. Oh, to hell with it around the world. We're that damn good.
Hey, we're big in the Maldives.
We picked up Singapore, by the way. Thank you for picking up the podcast.
That way they can watch the Singapore cane match and understand what it is.
Yeah, there you go. But, of course, we certainly do appreciate everybody downloading those podcasts. You can get them on your favorite podcast outlet. And, of course, at markhokeshow.podbean.com. And you can hear Fish and Joe DeFalco whenever you want. Are you excited about that, Joe?
Tremendously.
You should
You have no idea how many times during the week I just listen back to the show so I can hear Joe.
Really?
Yeah.
You can go to the FSW network and you can listen to the latest Joe DeFalco Files podcast too. You know?
I think I should be a guest on the DeFalco Files at some point, by the way.
You're going to be in the name randomizer as Scully or Mulder if you go to the DeFalco Files.
I know. I'll probably get buried hard, but that's okay.
I didn't come up with that horrible name either, by the way.
All right. Well,
the Vegas Bad Boys host came up with that.
Well, aren't you the boss? You can change it.
Yeah, I'm sure.
We're already
to worry about than the name.
It's marketed already. We're all good.
You don't want to confuse people.
Yeah. Well, speaking
of like it's a bad wrestling name. You know, people come to me and like, hey, I got this idea, and my name is going to be like one of our guys who, you know, you grew into the name. His name was Ice Williams, and I'm like that's dumb. You know what I mean? But after you get used to it, now that name is him, and he's gotten popular on the indie circuit.
He's a good performer.
I mean,
yeah.
I would imagine that when he first came up with it, Stone Cold Steve Austin didn't sound nearly as cool as it sounds now.
No, he had a much better name before. He stole my name, which was my original name on KLAV when I was doing the radio show. I was the ringmaster, and then he stole that from me.
Yes, he did.
I think he just kindly appropriated it and said, it's mine now. That's probably how that worked.
And that's the bottom line.
Yeah.
Because the ringmaster says so, so it doesn't work the same way.
That's right.
There you go. You know, a couple of interesting things happened on AEW, and one that, you know, Tony Khan's got a big announcement coming up, supposedly on Wednesday.
How many big announcements does this man make?
He makes a lot of announcements. But I'm hoping it has something to do with Ring of Honor, because something weird happened on Battle of the Belts this week. If you didn't see that on Saturday, Ring of Honor World Champion Jonathan Gresham wrestled Dalton Castle. And you may say, well, what does that matter? Well, Dalton Castle came out with the boys. They brought the boys gimmick back. The whole production's going on. And Gresham comes out, of course, in the big octopus mask and everything. And the mistake that AEW, I think, made was they had not presented these guys at all on any of their shows. So they just showed up. And if you weren't a Ring of Honor fan, you probably didn't know much about either of these guys. And the crowd for a while was pretty dead. And I think it's, you know, when you have a Samoa Joe who won the Ring of Honor TV title on Wednesday's Dynamite, if you know the guys and you've introduced them, it's one thing. But like bringing out Dalton Castle with the boys gimmick, which is hilarious and it's great, but without introducing it,
like I have no idea what that is.
Oh, you didn't watch the video I told you to watch?
No,
with him and Jay Lethal.
No.
Oh my God! If you want to, if you have not seen the video with the promo with Dalton Castle and the boys and Jay Lethal, where Dalton offered him a boy to sit on, it was hilarious. Great great promo. But I think it's about time that they've got to do something with Ring of Honor and get this separated from AEW. It's taken up time. You're trying to introduce people and you don't have time to do it, and you're putting a match on TV for a Ring of Honor World Title, and nobody knew who was in the ring. It was strange.
Being that it's AEW, their fan base is based off a lot of people who are Ring of Honor fans. So I think that's why they would have assumed that people would know who Dalton Castle was. But Dalton Castle hasn't been a prominent Ring of Honor guy for a few years.
Right.
He won the title and he got hurt and he kind of drifted to the wayside. But the thinking is, Ring of Honor, everybody knows who they are in AEW because, their fans used to be Ring of Honor fans, and they graduated to AEW fans. So I could see it, but as, we were talking about it last week or the week before, about the way Ring of Honor is presented. So I think they were saying something I read about 11 or 13 titles that are now currently held in AEW that they, if you want to count the AAA titles that they defend when they feel like it. But, you can't keep track of all these people.
And like that, the more titles you have, the less the title is worth.
Yeah, it's creating a contradiction because you're bringing out the Ring of Honor World Champion. You're like, well, what's the difference between him and Hangman Adam Page? And, I think they've got it. They have got to get those brands separated, and they've got to do it fast.
Yeah, because you're right. Because if you're not separating them, then all of a sudden you devalue Hangman Adam Page's championship belt.
Right.
Well, I think I said it. I guess I didn't say it here, but I think I said it on the podcast. We were talking about it, and the issue to me was that having a Samoa Joe, say, wrestle CM Punk for the Ring of Honor title or something like that on a Ring of Honor show, or the setup with Jay Lethal and those guys, is going to be much more appreciated on the Ring of Honor show. But
right.
If you don't know when you're going to do the Ring of Honor show, it forces you to do it on an AEW show because you can't wait 3 months for the next ROH show. And that's the thing, before they jump to all these stories and Ring of Honor things with Jay Lethal and Sanjay Dutt and Samoa Joe and all those guys, it needs to be put on a Ring of Honor event. The Ring of Honor event that they did was universally, praised and everything. But now if there's not going to be another one until some other big wrestling weekend that's happening, well, in reality, Ring of Honor doesn't exist. It just becomes a bunch of one-offs.
Exactly.
Go ahead, Joe.
I was going to say, and then putting it on AEW where, having that match, nobody knows Sanjay Dutt. If they, he's been an agent for 10 years now. You know what I mean? It's like, but he's one of, he was an ROH, legend, Impact legend, these guys. So to bring all these names back that we had talked about with the Ring of Honor, because they have so many guys that are now in AEW that they can cross brand all they want, but it isn't a cross brand if it's on AEW. And now where are they presented? Like Jonathan Gresham, for example, he's a big deal in Ring of Honor. He's not a big deal in AEW.
Right, and it showed. It really did. The crowd got into the match as it went because they're good wrestlers. Had a couple little weird things going on, but I don't know.
My question is, and we've touched on this before, but now with Ring of Honor being acquired by AEW and these other names coming in, is Tony Khan spreading himself too thin that at some point there's going to be a weakness? The dam is going to break, so to speak, because you've spread yourself so thin?
It could. I like I said, I think the biggest thing that they've got to do is they've got to get those two products apart, and they've got to do it now.
Ring of Honor needs to stay its own brand, and unless you can do something with it, then don't start these storylines that you can't continue on Ring of Honor and just throw them on AEW and hope that people are going to care.
Yeah, I think Tony got a new toy in couldn't wait till Christmas to open it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but once they separate them, don't they have to keep them separated? In other words, you can't separate 100%.
them. I mean, you can still have a person cross over every once in a while
on occasion. Yeah, but
and
you can't
move people around.
Right, but you can't have AEW wrestlers constantly showing up on Ring of Honor and vice versa, because then there's no point in having the separation of the show. And
exactly.
if you do that, at that point, it ruins both of them.
Yeah, so they
need to be. It's Raw and SmackDown. It's Ring of Honor and AEW.
Yep. So we'll see where that goes.
That's a real brand difference, WWE could have did it back in the day with WCW, and they chose not to do it. A lot of times it's the ego involved. Tony Khan needs everybody to know that he's the booker for Ring of Honor. He's the guy who runs AEW. He's the one who's spending millions of daddy's dollars.
Yep. So, we'll see where all that goes. And also, and I wanted to talk a little bit about the youth movement in AEW compared to what WWE is doing as well with NXT. This week on AEW programming, Wheeler Yuta has joined up with
the
Blackpool Combat Club, which is Bryan Danielson and
John
Moxley and Steven Regal, or William Regal, excuse me. And Wheeler gets the pin in their match against the Gun Club. Jurassic Express beats Red Dragon. Hangman Page beats Adam Cole. And then we also had Powerhouse Hobbs in a tag match where he was teaming Ricky Starks. Gets a pin on Keith Lee when they were wrestling him and Swerve, which was a great match, by the way. All four guys did a terrific job in that one. But Tony is standing by the young guys and really trying to get them to become stars. And it's very interesting to see. And then you have NXT WWE where you have your NXT people where they're featuring them on a separate show, but they're not getting the rub. And then when they come up, it's kind of like hit and miss. And I'm just curious your guys' thoughts on how AEW is handling their younger wrestlers as opposed to how WWE is.
Well,
what's the right way to go?
Well, just hearing what you said just now, and if you think of all the people you said that won, all the people that lost. All the people that lost were former WWE wrestlers that have now come into AEW. You said Keith Lee, Bobby Fish, and Kyle O'Reilly, Adam Cole. So now it could be just coincidence, or it could be that he's not burying them necessarily, but he's promoting the AEW guys over the former WWE guys.
Oh, and Punk took a loss to MJF as well.
Which is all very interesting in that regard. And I think, WWE is ruining it by now they've done it again with NXT, because now Natalya is back down in NXT. And they just did it with Dolph Ziggler, obviously winning the NXT title, and now Natalya is now in NXT. So they're doing it the opposite. They're having the old guard now fight the new kids on their territory versus having the new kids be able to stand on their own.
Joe, what do you think about all this? Is AEW handling this right? Is WWE handling it right? You run a promotion. What do you think?
Well, you made the statement, and you were like, well, the young guys, Hobbs and Ricky Starks beat Keith Lee and Strickland, and it's like, but shouldn't Strickland be considered a young guy that's an up-and-coming star?
That's true.
Like, you guys got handed, a guy that many perceive as a really big deal. So to have him come in, and I know Jay Lethal's older, whatever, but having all these guys come in and not win, I'm not sure, if it makes sense. I've always been one where it isn't, participation trophies. It's not, hey, I've been there longer, so this is what I deserve. The best people should win. And it's like, if you're going to sign Strickland and Keith Lee and Jay Lethal and bring all these guys in just to put over other people because they started with you, because, again, which is it? We're going to only push the guys that we bring in, then how come Brian Cage wasn't on TV for 9 months? You know what I mean? It was like, well, Brian Cage wasn't on TV because, they brought in all these new guys that they had to push. They didn't bring in Bryan Danielson to have him put over Ricky Starks.
Yeah, agreed.
It's what Tony Khan feels the value is of that person. They say CM Punk lost to MJF. That don't mean anything. MJF is on fire, and MJF has also lost a feud with Chris Jericho. So, it's going to be back and forth. It's who Tony Khan likes. It's who the promoter likes, who the booker likes. I've dealt with the same thing with people that, hey, Joe DeFalco likes this kind of wrestler. Meaning one that the people care about and I think are exciting.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, I have to play to my fan base, and my fan base has a type of wrestler they like. Our fan base is a little more WWE-oriented fans that they like the storylines. So a guy like Cross got over huge because of a character, because of his gimmick, because of his persona. But Chris Bay also got over, or Hammerstone got over, because these were guys that could work, they could cut promos, and that's what the fans want to see. We've also had guys that are high flyers that zip around and do super cool stuff, but they struggle to get over because their persona's not there.
Do you find it tough sometimes to go necessarily against what you feel or believe because it's what the fans want?
Yeah, that's happened numerous times. I know when I know is a name that people don't want to talk about anymore, Joey Ryan. But Joey Ryan was a guy whose gimmick I never got, never understood. You're grabbing the guy's penis, and he does a flip, and it's like, okay, I get it. It's funny the first 5 times, but when it's the 5,000th time, who cares anymore? But this guy's over. We were looking for some talent. He was available. We booked him, and we had one of our better turnouts for that show.
It's not
because he was a guy that people wanted to see. And I don't let my ego, if a guy's over and people seem to be interested in having this guy on the show, just because I may not particularly dig what he's doing isn't going to stop me from using a guy that I think our fan base is going to enjoy seeing.
Yeah, the bottom line is making money.
I was going to say, it's that the old authority term. It's best for business.
And in like WWE right now, you've got a guy like Veer Mahan, who you had him as a stooge for Jinder Mahal. You make him disappear, you repackage, and now
he's a monster.
You're making him into a monster. And I just wonder if, why you didn't just do that in the first place with him instead of making him a glorified jobber.
I saw his picture as a baseball pitcher. I never knew that. Holy cow, what a difference.
I didn't see that.
I didn't see it either.
Huh.
Yeah, I saw it the other day.
Huh,
and you're right, Mark, because the problem becomes that it's a lot harder for them to get him over as that kind of monster when he's been a stooge.
Yeah, I mean, if you come in, if I meet you, Fish, and you come off as a total jerk, and I'm like, oh my God, that Fish guy, man, he smells bad, he's ugly, he's a terrible human being, and then all of a sudden, 6 months later down the road, that you walk in the door, and you're a totally different personality. It's like, what do I believe? And that's the same thing you have in wrestling a lot, especially with WWE. Yeah, we have Lacey Evans who just got totally repackaged. Now she's the Marine, and she's going through the hard life.
She's not the Southern Belle anymore.
She was the sassy Southern Rich Belle who everybody hated, and she was the snotty stuck-up girl. And now we have to believe that she's a totally different person.
Well, Kofi Kingston was from Jamaica and had an accent, and we had to buy into that.
Yeah, that's you can drop an accent, but I mean you're talking a massive
personality overhaul, yeah.
Personality and character shift, well, and that makes it difficult.
I'll ask you a question.
Sure.
If something's not working, what do you do to change it?
Oh, I agree. I mean, you have to make a change.
I mean, look at John Cena is like the ultimate in that, because he came in as a prototype and that didn't work because he couldn't find a spot. So he was about to get cut and fired until he came up with the Master of Thugonomics, which all of a sudden turned him into this character that people liked. And then he dropped that. Once he got the popularity from that, he was able to drop that and become what he is now.
There's another Hall of Famer, the Deacon Batista, He came out as Leviathan in OVW. It didn't work. I'm always a person who looks at I always say first impressions, that are the most important thing. You want to present the guy as a monster. We have a guy Big Duke, he's about 6'8", big dude, should be a monster. but he's been wrestling around and decided to come to FSW. And it's like his perception elsewhere, as I said to him, you know, he wrestled on one of the shows, and he wrestles a lucha guy who's 140 pounds, and he takes 10 minutes to beat him. And I'm like, I'd like to build you as a monster, but you can't be wrestling all over town and struggling to beat a guy who's a third of your size. You know, the perception is you could barely beat this 140-pound guy. I can't make you beat all my guys because it makes my guys look inferior to you.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. Because they just had Veer Mahan just destroy Dominic Mysterio.
Yeah, it's.
Then Ray gets sick. He was supposed to wrestle him, and he found that he saw the sheet that said 3 minutes, and he said, "Oh, I don't feel good."
I think so.
That's a possibility. Yeah, and we can armchair book all day. I guess maybe I'm being a little guilty of that, but you gotta really work hard to make this happen. So.
JBL, remember when JBL
acolyte to rich dude.
And that, right. And you know what? And the thing was, he grew into being a great champion, but they hot-shotted the belt on him. He beats Eddie Guerrero, and it was like he ended up getting over. Most people don't, but it took him a long time to do it. Imagine how big of a title change it would have been if they spent 6 months building him up as this rich New York type instead of just hot-shotting him with the belt, and now he's this arrogant guy who's from New York.
Well, a little more subtly, it's the same thing with Roman Reigns. They changed the character to make him the tribal chief and the head of the table, and now he's more over than he's ever been.
Yeah, and to me, that was more of an evolution of a character than totally ripping somebody apart.
They embraced him as he embraced or Vince McMahon embraced the Roman Reigns is going to be a heel thing.
Yeah, so yeah, very interesting. Yeah, and Sammy Guevara is going to have the same problem here shortly.
He's been booed already.
Yeah, if you haven't seen what's going on with Sammy, of course, we all remember Sammy got engaged on TV and then broke up with her a few months later. And now he's been dating Ty Conti, and ever since they put that little duo together, Sammy just won the TNT title again on Battle of the Belts, and he's getting booed out of the building, and he's getting booed out of the building with Dan Lambert and Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page as his opponents. And everybody hates Dan Lambert. I don't know. I think people are starting to like Lambert, actually. But Guevara and Ty Conti got a bad reception in that match. So now Sammy goes into no man's land, too. It's really, just because he's dating.
Just becomes a heel. That's all.
Yeah, it'll be interesting.
He's got to embrace it. That's all. It's funny how it was all diversity. Oh, they put the belt on Scorpio Sky to hold it for like 3 weeks.
Yeah, and I felt bad for Scorpio. I'm not sure I understand why this title, the last 2 title changes with Sammy, I just didn't quite get it.
I feel worse for Scorpio Sky for what they've done to him for the first 2 years of AEW's existence.
Yeah, I mean, he signed a long-term deal.
He's an ultra-talented dude.
He is. I mean, he has really improved from his Ring of Honor days. So, but yeah, quality entertainment there, that's for sure. I've been interested.
Great match. Go see Scorpio Sky and Chris Bay on the FSW network from the Mecca. Oh, unbelievable. And then Scorpio Sky comes out with the Apollo Creed USA outfit. It was fantastic.
Wow. Well,
I have to look that up.
Well, I think you should go to FSWVegas.com and get on the FSW network and get your membership.
I think so.
I think it'd be a good idea. And by the way, we got about 2 minutes left. Do want to mention kind of a little bit of a sad story that just popped up, that Virgil, of course, we all remember Virgil, the man who is the manservant for Ted DiBiase, has announced he is suffering from the early stages of dementia. Was having some issues on WrestleMania weekend and was diagnosed with dementia.
Didn't see that.
Yeah, that just popped up today. And on top of learning that he also had 2 strokes.
Jeez.
So, didn't know it. So we want to wish Virgil all the best as he is.
I mean, but I've seen some sad things with Virgil. Like there'll be a signing, and he'll be all by himself at a table, and no one's coming near him to get anything signed by him, and it just seems like a sad existence for him.
He's a funny interview. If you ever see interviews with Virgil, boy, are they a train wreck! Holy cow, that man will say anything.
And he's named Virgil because of Dusty Rhodes, right?
The spoof on Dusty Rhodes. Yeah. You betcha. Well, guys, great show
as always.
As we dove deep in this one. That's for sure.
Got the remix behind you?
Yeah, you bet. So we want to thank everybody for taking a little bit of time out of their Easter Sunday to listen to us.
Especially Lourdes.
Appreciate it. Lourdes, great job in there. Fish, Joe DeFalco, wish you guys a happy holiday. And make sure you follow us on Twitter at Mark Hoke Show, Facebook, The Mark Hoke Show, markhokeshow.com for the website, and, of course, markhokeshow.podbean.com, of course, on all your favorite podcast outlets as well. Keep downloading those shows. We certainly appreciate it. And we will see you guys next week on The Mark Hoke Show. Enjoy the rest of your Easter Sunday, everybody. Want more of The Mark Hoke Show? Follow us on Twitter at Mark Hoke Show, like us on Facebook at The Mark Hoke Show, and visit markhokeshow.com to keep up with everything happening with the show. And remember to check out all of our archive shows on YouTube at The Mark Hoke Show, and download our podcasts at markhokeshow.podbean.com and all your favorite podcast outlets. So join The Mark Hoke Show family today, and thanks for listening.